Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Loft Film Festival, the 2021 edition. So glad to be welcoming you back in person in the theater and both in our open air cinema for this year's edition. My name is Ernie Quiroz. I am the co director of the Loft Film Festival. So glad to be part of the Loft team. And like I said, glad to be welcoming everyone back to the theater live and in person. Unfortunately, we could not have the director and the star of the film live and in person, so we are taking an opportunity to pre-record this Q&A to sort of delve deeper into sort of some of the issues in the film. So I want to go ahead and bring out. Actually, before I do that, I want to remind you this film is eligible for the Audience Award. So you should have gotten a ballot by now. If you haven't, please see one of the ushers for one of the ballots. And we'll be announcing the winner of that Audience Award at the closing night film of Julia, which will be next Wednesday, the 17th, or excuse me, the 18th. So just make sure you just rip through the number 1 through 5, 5 being the best, of how you want to rate the film, and then turn that into the usher on your way out. So now let's go ahead and introduce the director of the film, Justin Monroe, and the star of the movie, Tim Carey. Justin and Tim, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us, Ernie. We're excited to be here.
Let's start with. I want to start with Justin, with you. Watching this film, uh, you know, you have the sense of tension of like, oh my God, are they going to do this? Are they going to, finish in time? Are they going to make it? I want to know. I mean, you were there living it with them for the 2-3 years. How did you feel being there every day and sort of living through it? I mean, were you worried? Did you ever think that, oh my God, they're not going to finish?
I Can you cuss on this thing? Are you allowed to cuss? Can I say? I
Exactly.
was
Yeah.
I was shitting bricks the whole time, and not only because even though I'm a filmmaker, I'm documenting what happens, and it still might have been an interesting movie if they completely fell apart. I wanted them to make it. So on the one hand, I was rooting for them, but obviously I can't do anything about it. And on the other hand, I'm shitting bricks myself because keeping up with all the footage and doing all the filming and being there for all the moments, I don't want to miss a beat. And so I feel like that my anxiety level was mirroring Tim's the entire time, we were shooting. So yes, I was concerned. I was always concerned. Yeah.
And then Tim, what was it like to, on top of everything, you like have this film crew following you around, and they're sort of documenting and you're thinking like, good or bad, they're there, and this is gonna kind of for all time, on in ones and zeros.
Yeah, it was weird at first. I would say it was very strange in the beginning, but I think to some degree it was like it probably canceled the good canceled out with the bad because the bad might have been that we were slightly distracted or we had to slow down at certain points or we had to take a cue every now and then or wait for them to get a camera in position.
Hmm.
So that was probably the worst part about it. But the good part about it is that something about being on camera makes you a little more alert and a little more awake. And so it felt sort of exciting and it felt like people were watching and it mattered what we did. So I think to some degree it kept me awake and aware always. Whereas if I was just in there by myself doing the work, I might have drifted off and been kind of bored and lazy and cut some corners. But I'm like, I can't cut any corners. I got to do this thing because everyone's watching.
Hmm.
So I think ultimately it ended up being a good thing for the project to have the cameras there, just in terms of keeping the energy going, and um, and just having the knowing that it was being recorded. I think just made everybody want to do their best.
Yeah. Talk about how you guys met and how this project started. Where along in the process of putting together, world's largest stained glass window. Justin, where did you come in, and then, I mean, how did the narrative evolve?
Uh, well, believe it or not, I moved from Oklahoma and I moved to South Pasadena, and I happened to move right next door to a man named Tim Carey. Never met him before in my life. and just chatting as neighbors chat and drink beer together on the weekends or whatever. And he began to tell me a little bit about this project he was involved in. He knew as a filmmaker, and said, "Listen, we are bidding against 60 other companies from around the world." Because when I met him, they had not landed the project, and said, "We're
this is 2015. What time frame are we talking? 2014. Okay.
2014, yeah. And they hadn't landed the project, and he said, we've got to stand out among the 60 people. There's big firms from everywhere, Italy and Germany and all across America. And he said, "Can you come and film a promo that make us look cool on video, to go with our pitch?" And so it was there that I learned really about the project, and that it was the biggest in the world, that they didn't really know how to pull it off. There was this magical man named Narcissus Quagliata out there that they might need to find. All these things. And so I asked Tim and David, his boss, said, "Would you please let me start filming? Because this is at the very beginning. And if you do get this project and Narcissus does come on, you're going to want a record of all of that when it happened." So it was from the very beginning that I sort of stumbled into this. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, amazing timing and amazing serendipity that your neighbor
it's amazing. Yeah.
is this world-class artist. Yeah. Talk about, and then was it fairly easy to sort of get everyone on board and get Narcissus on board and get it? I mean,
easy. Good question. Tim, was it easy to get you? I don't know. Were you?
Of course. What do you mean? Have you seen the movie?
Of course.
In front of the camera. It's like, yeah. I was calling him up and saying, "Come on, film me more.
It was Tim was on board right at the beginning. David Judson, his boss, was on board. Narcissus was truly a superstar in the world of stained glass. I wasn't sure how he would land, but he's used to cameras. He's had documentaries filmed about him and different projects, and he said yes, a little reluctantly. He kind of wanted to feel me out a little bit, and then I had to convince the church to let this guy come in. They were worried, is he going to tell the right story? Is he going to make us look like horrible monsters that are spending $90 million, and just, paint the worst picture? So they took a little bit of convincing. I had to go before their board and a lot of people, but they said yes as well. I was really grateful. And then they put no restrictions on me. That was the one thing I thought was crazy, is nobody demanded any final edit, review, anything. They just, after a while, they just believed that I was going to, tell the right story, I guess. I don't know.
I think the in terms of getting people on board, most of us, I think everybody for the most part was on board with this thing being documented. I think what took some getting used to was the way he was doing it, which was not just, when we're working, turn the cameras on. He was filming everything. He was filming. I was coaching Little League, and I look over and Justin's got his iPhone out. I'm like, "Oh, okay." Sorry, did I say I was filming Little League? I was coaching Little League, and he pulled the camera out. Same thing with Narcissus. He's making a cup of coffee, and over his shoulder there's Justin with the iPhone. These guys were very much in our business, way above and beyond just making the window, and that was hard to get used to for me. I understood why he was doing that. I don't think Narcissus understood it until maybe he saw the movie, right, Justin? I mean, I don't think he even knew why Justin was filming all this extra stuff until he actually ended up watching the movie. He said, "Why are you filming this? This is about a stained glass window, and you're filming me and Tim walking down the street drinking a beer."
And that's the thing, Ernie, is that to me, I had no connection to stained glass at all. Zero. To me, the movie wasn't about stained glass. Hey, it's beautiful. I loved it. I become more accustomed to it, and I've fallen in love with it now. But at the time, I knew nothing. And the stained glass is not what drew me. It was them. They were my art. They were my stained glass, right? And the story had to be about the characters. They just happened to be making the biggest stained glass on the window of the world, but they could have been doing anything. They were so interesting to me. So
yeah, that's what I really. I saw the film at Slam Dance, and I've done my best to try to get it in other festivals. We got it here at Loft Film Festival in Tucson, and I try to tell people, you tell them what it's about, and sort of on paper they think, "Oh, it's stained glass window, 2-hour documentary. Why do I want to see that?" But then you tell them, like, no, that's just your entry point into sort of, what artist and the artist mentee or mentor relationship and things like that. I really like the subplot of Quentin. I just watched it again last night, and it really stuck out to me. Is this Quentin subplot, and you sort of see his growth as an artist and as a man. I would love to maybe talk more about him, and if there's any update. I want to get updates on everybody, but updates on Quentin.
Yeah, I'll do some of it, Tim, and you can take over. Quentin's story to me was perhaps the greatest art. Was one of my most like meaningful connections in the whole movie. It meant so much to me to see him rise to the occasion, and from where he came from, and to this day, I'm still blown away by the serendipity of him. I mean, he just happened upon the studio, and nobody knew what he could. He was a mechanic. He was good with his hands. Little did they all know that he was a little bit of a genius too. What an incredible story, and I'm just so grateful that he said yes too, because I think he gave the film a deeper heart, personally. Tim, I don't know if you want to talk about where he is now or whatever.
Yeah, he's a mechanic again. He's living in a van down near the riverside. Once I left, they've all kind of gone by the wayside. Studio is now becoming a shelter for stray dogs and cats, but I'm doing fine. Everybody else is not so good. No, Quentin is running that place now. He really is. He's taken over all of the operations in the fusing studio. They brought in a water jet machine, and he built it himself. I mean, the guy can basically build anything. And David Judson has sort of given him the reins over there, and he's got all this new cool equipment, and he's running CAD drawings into this water jet machine and doing these big architectural projects. And yeah, he's come a long way. When we brought him in, we were just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what stuck with that project, because we had a whole thing going already with the stained glass studio that had been humming for years. And just as we were getting this job, we got 2 other huge jobs, so we couldn't bring anybody else in from the rest of the studio because they were all swamped. So here's this 20-year-old kid in the cementing room spraying windows and waterproofing them, and I'm like, let's try him out. He comes in with full enthusiasm, and stayed late and came early, and was helpful to Ernie in every way he could. So he was just a total, just total luck that it happened that way. And it's so good to see where he is now. And he's still a young guy. He's only 23 years old, 24. So he's got a pretty bright future in glass for sure.
That's right.
Narcissus has this line towards the end of the film. He says how when he started the project, I think he was talking to either you or David, or maybe both of you, where he says that at the end of this project, we're all going to be changed. We're going to be changed people, and it's going to take a while for us to sort of figure out who we are afterwards. And we get a little bit of that at the end, but I want to know, Tim, now that it's been in a little bit more time, how did that project change you, and what have you been up to since the film ended?
Well, so I left the studio about a year after we finished The Window. And I mean, obviously that project gave me the courage to take that leap. I had been thinking about it for years, but always trying to sort of envision something, what it would look like, and I could never picture it. But once I understood fusing, and I understood how much of an opening there was in the art world to bring this technique into lots of different areas, I got the confidence. So that project, with Narcissus's guidance, gave me the courage and confidence to leave. So, as far as having left now 3 years later, 4 years later, I've been humbled by being a business owner. I'm learning, taking my knocks in terms of, what it is that David was going through running a company. And, it's just me. I don't have any employees, but I'm realizing that it's not that simple. It's not as simple as get a job, get some money, and take it to the bank. There's a lot of things that you got to do, and that I'm not very good at when it comes to being organized and doing my accounting and taxes and all the little things, and saving money and planning for operating expenses. And so I'm definitely taking my lumps in that way, but I'm learning, and I wouldn't change it. It's just, it's just a grind, and I'm just blasting through it. And Narcissus is still working over there at Judson. He's got a great thing going with them. He's consulting and helping them with big projects. And I'm teaching, he's teaching. We're both doing classes, online classes, which have been really fun. Justin and I have formed a company that is dedicated to online learning and content creation around the subject of glass. So we've all changed a lot, I think. Looking back 5 years from when we finished the project, or almost 5 years, we're all very different. I mean, Narcissus was a prophet the whole time, right? The whole movie, he was making these predictions, and he was right. He's always had a good sense for people, and where they're going, and he was pretty dead on about a lot of things. Thankfully, everybody's doing well. Nobody is really. We haven't broken up and all crashed and burned. We've all kind of we're doing something different, but we're all thriving in our own way, I think.
Yeah, we've only got about 4 or 5 minutes left, and before we go, we run out of time. How can people stay in contact or keep up, Tim, with what you're doing, to see some of your work, and Justin to see some of the work that you're doing, like websites, Facebook pages? Throw me some social media connection.
Sure. We're all over social media. Holy Frit is all over there. Of course, you can, follow me, Justin Monroe. We've got a holyfrit.com page. And then Tim and I, we started this business called Vitrionics. And it's not really, we're really trying to do entertaining, crazy content. Just happens to be around the subject of glass, which we both really love. And we think it's in its infancy still, the fused glass world. But we're trying to continue what we learned working together and taking this personality that Tim has and throwing him into all these crazy situations, with the backdrop of glass being there. And it's been great. I mean, I can't believe it, but it's been a really profitable, successful business thus far. So we're going to keep doing that, and then I hope to continue to make movies and all that, but just, stay tuned to all that.
Yeah, my work, I have a website, just timcarey.com. So all the stuff I'm doing is there. All my glass work, and even some of my old paintings are up there, and I try to keep it up to date. And we're just, continuing to kind of get out there with Holy Frit and try to do whatever we can to promote it. I'm sorry we couldn't be there. Yeah. Sounds like you guys are having fun in Tucson, a place I've never been to, but how's that going? Are you guys?
The theater just, we were obviously shut down for a little over a year. We reopened in May to limited capacity. We canceled the festival last year, but we're slowly coming back. And who knows, next year, next project, whatever, we'll invite you guys out, and then we'll celebrate in real in person. So
that'd be amazing.
Talk about Narcissus and David. Have they seen the film? What is their what was their feedback?
Yeah. So David, again, they didn't ask for any editing changes or anything. There was a rough patch there at the end with Tim and David, but David totally was cool with that being in there. He understood why it needed to be in there and said, he had his decisions and Tim had his decisions, and that was that. And and they've all come out on the other side, better. I think everyone's where they need to be, even though that was kind of difficult for a while. Narcissus, he called me the red bearded nightmare the entire time I was filming. Like Tim said, he didn't know what I was doing, and I kept saying, yeah, okay, I'll film the glass, which is great, but I'm watching you. And he's like, no, stop filming me, film that. I said, no, I'm telling you, you are the story. And he didn't believe me. He did not believe anybody would care to watch their relationship, Tim and Narcissus. And I said, I beg to differ. I think it's compelling. I think it's amazing. And he's since called me a few times, actually, as the film has done very well. We won awards, and said, Justin, I was wrong. So many of my friends have seen this movie and they've come to love it, and they're telling me why they love it. And it's all the reasons that you seem to see. And, that's the thing about Narcissus. His name is Narcissus, yet he can be absolutely humble. He can be crazy and huge ego at the time, but he was straight about that. And that meant a lot to me. So yeah, he seems to like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was faith of many kinds in this film, and faith that the congregation put in you, Tim. You had this crazy idea, and you weren't sure how to execute it, and then Justin had this crazy idea. Hey, I'm going to make a film, and you didn't know how to execute it, so everyone's sort of like, hey, let's figure this out as we're going along. Right. Two last questions. Okay, so has the congregation seen the film? And did they ever fix the speakers?
I'll take the congregation, Tim. You take the last one. As a matter of fact, they just had a screening last week where 2,000 people showed up to watch it in the very room where the stained glass is. There's a screen underneath the window, and they were talking. We unfortunately couldn't be there either. We've been traveling a lot, and so they said how surreal it is to watch the movie and look up the entire time and see the window just there. It's there. And man, the comments have just been pouring in. People just sending me the kindest emails. And I mean, they're watching a film that, is not necessarily G or PG. It's got some language in there and some colorful people. And they have no problem with it. They watch it right there in the middle of the pews and loved it. So it's been amazing. Yeah. Tim, what do you think about those speakers?
Speakers are still there. We made it kind of, I think it's pretty complex what they did with those speakers originally. So I think any sort of change in terms of creating a lift or whatever would be a pretty monumental thing. They probably have to clear out all of the pews in the church. And I'm guessing that's kind of the holdup with that, is that it's probably not a simple solution. But I will say this: they told us recently they'd taken off a piece of the speakers, so each one of them is actually a little smaller now. I guess it was a good sized chunk they got to take off because of technology. So hopefully over time, as technology gets better and better, those things will just keep shrinking, and then they'll just be like a little tube at some point. But until then, we live with the speakers. I haven't been there since the church we had the opening, so it's a fun part of the movie. It definitely gets probably the biggest reaction when people watch it, when those speakers hit the.
I love that he says fun. They were the bane of his existence for a while, but definitely for the movie, it was interesting. That's for sure. Yeah.
I kind of lied. One more question for Tim, and maybe slightly unfair. At the end of the film, you felt like everyone else was happy about it, so that kind of made you happy about it.
Yeah.
On some level. But have you had a chance to maybe think about it and reevaluate it, and in and of itself, are you happy with what you did?
No, that's a good question, and it's true. I mean, I don't think I've ever done an art piece that I've looked at and said, okay, I did it, I nailed it. I'm totally satisfied. But I will say, with most of the artwork I do, as time goes by and I get some perspective and I do other things and look at other things and come back to them, I go, wow, that was pretty, I did okay there, because you're clearing your palette with other things. And, when you get too involved in something, it's hard to really be able to judge it. So looking back on it, yeah, I'm really pleased. I mean, I'm always going to see the little things that I could have done better. But when I see, continue to see the reactions from the community and hear from Pastor Adam, and, I've developed a relationship with that whole community. And so for me, that's still the apex, is as a commission artist doing work that is for other people, that gives them something in their life to have meaning. And that's really such a big thing, that my little idiosyncratic concerns about how it looks or what I could have done better are nothing compared to that. And like I said, going back to my original answer, yeah, it's not bad now. I look at it, I'm like, that's not bad. We did good. So thank you for asking that. It's a good question.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen. There's so many more things. I mean, we just barely skimmed the surface. And I got to sign up for a Frit class somewhere. So
yeah, get in there. Go to vitrionics.com. VITREONICS. The classes are on there. So if you guys anybody wants to take a class, get in there. They're fun. They're not like boring master classes. They're classes where we drink and curse and have a good
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
So good to meet you, man.
Mm-hmm. And then just one last reminder to everyone there in the audience: make sure to vote and give those votes to the 5, a big 5. All right, all right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Take care. All right.